Hi, Tea Society. Welcome back to the Antisocial Planet. And today we are checking out Chaeyoung's Avocado. Now, I don't have any context for this. I haven't heard any of what this song is. I haven't heard any parts of this album that is coming. I don't know the feature. And I don't know what to take away from the fact that this is called Avocado. So the only thing I have for context is I really like Chaeyoung, and I've seen some of the photos. So I have like at least an idea of an aesthetic that we're going for. But other than that, nothing. I'm going in blind. Lyrics first, so I can hear the song. Again, no context. I have no idea what this is gonna be. I'm just like gonna dive in and see what happens. Ooh, okay. Is it like a guitar with a bunch of like post on it?
This girl is strawberry, blueberry. I see it growing on the ground. Feeling like a bad one. Avocado, I gotta have it on the ground. Feeling like a dream, baby. It's alright, I decided now. I've gone to Wonderland, no looking back. Why would I look back now?
Okay, first off, always love a good bass line. I think in contrast to this very like light, breathy vocal from her, and like that, I guess like the feature is doing the lower harmony, like having the two voices overlapping each other is really pretty too. But again, the contrast with the lighter, airy sound and then having this like heavier bass, it feels very like 70s rock, which is also interesting to me. I really wasn't sure what to get in terms of like sound, because like I know a little bit with Chaeyoung. I know that she likes more like alternative styling and there's some music influence there, right? So I knew that there was definitely probably going to be something that felt a little bit in that vein, especially again, given some of the photos that we got. It has a little bit of that like alternative, almost like DIY vibe to some of it, but I wasn't quite expecting something that felt very like 70s rock, especially like with that like heavy bass line coming through. I just feel like a like good like walking bass line just feels very like classic rock to me. And I like that we're getting the like Wonderland reference, which we think Alice in Wonderland, especially again given some of the photos. Fantasy being the name of the album feels very much like going into a bit of a land of make-believe, but also there's like a sinister undertone to some of Wonderland. So I think it's interesting lyrically there. Again, dreams, I think her delivery is very dreamy in that too. Very interesting. I have so many thoughts. I need to let it simmer for a bit. I feel like underground, like the rabbit hole, Wonderland. I love all the layered vocals in the back too. Haunting. Ooh. Ooh. Again, interesting, like deceive me again. Like I was saying, like with the image of Wonderland is very much, it looks like this wonderful place on the surface, and then there's like the sinister kind of undercurrent that becomes like more and more apparent as you go through the story. And I feel like that happens with a lot of different stories where you end up in a different world, right? That at the beginning it seems very like wonderful and magical, and it's like the newness, the novelty of it pulls you in, and then you start to see like the cracks in it, right? Even Oz, right? Like the land of Oz, the whole kind of vibe is that he's Oz himself is like this like wonderful like wizard until like you look behind the curtain and like that there's like a con man instead, right? So I feel like it's really interesting imagery in this, like I was saying, like buried underground, talking about like the falling down the rabbit hole, going to like Wonderland and everything. So it almost feels again like maybe being pulled towards someone or something, talking about like it being like bad and like you know that, and yet you want to be like pulled in, right? Like I was saying, like you're pulled into like the novelty of this other world, and then you start to see some of that like sinister underpinnings or like the cracks in that facade, and you still want to live in the fantasy again, like you want to live in like the dream, you want to live in like the like ignorance of thinking this is wonderful until the shine comes off of it. And I also really like that at the end of these phrases she's elongating, it's falling off, it has like a bit of a drag to the way that she's singing it, and I think that's really fun too because it's giving something like slightly off kilter to the delivery of it, because she's not like properly like ending those phrases, right? Like she's letting it fade out, which I think is also really interesting. Very atmospheric too.
Just
Beautiful vocals layered up in the back. Really interesting. Again, like all of the kind of vocalizations, I'm just like pausing because I know we're about to probably go to the end here, but I think it's also interesting that we've had all these multiple voices over top of each other, because it adds to this like dreamy feeling, right? Because you've got all these kind of like soft voices layering over top of each other, but at the same time they're competing with each other, or they're muddying the waters. And I don't mean that in any kind of like negative critique, but like in terms of creating the atmosphere, it's like literally having like multiple voices and like input into what's happening, right? It gives me the vibe of like disorientation, right? Which is part of a dream, right? Like a dream doesn't work the way that reality does. And these make-believe places, or these like magical alternate places, also don't really make sense, right? They break a bunch of the rules of reality, whether that's Wonderland or Oz or even like Neverland, right? All of these places kind of work on different logic, have the kind of like magical feeling to them. So there's something like disorienting in that novelty too. And even having the vocalizations here where it's just her voice, gorgeous. I think that it adds to like the atmosphere, especially since this is the first song from the album, like the track list. So creating the right atmosphere for what the rest of the album is going to be. But I also think that it's interesting that it's like deceive me, believe me, right? All of these kind of requests of pull me into the fantasy, right? And then no words are said. It's just like a almost like a siren call of beckoning you in, or no longer trying to like logic your way through what's happening. You're just like letting yourself be pulled along with it, right? You're surrendering to it. Really distinct sound though that she's going for. Very different from anything that I've heard from Twice or from her, even in the couple of like covers I've heard from her. And that like vocal sample way back in the production is like haunting too. That's a note. Again, like a high low, right? Really interesting to have, again, that like high low to it, both these like ethereal sounding very light breathy vocals in contrast to that like lower very like haunting vocal, right? And it's buried in the production post on it, that it feels like it's blending into the environment. It has this feeling of an echo, which is also very fascinating. Really distinct sound, distinct choice from her in terms of what this was going to be, and it makes me very interested to see what like the rest of the album is going to be. All right, I'm pulled in. We got a video and everything for this too. It's always a good day when the video is longer than the song is. This already, again, the aesthetic that we've gotten from like photos and stuff, there's like a vintage but also like nostalgic, but also I don't know, there's something almost like indie about it, right? DIY in the way that she's like doing the photo shoots and stuff for it. So this feels like we're fitting into some of that vibe maybe. Cute.
네. 주문 도와드릴게요.
아보카도 토스트. 아보카도 토스트.
I'm assuming this is the feature. So are they like a band then?
아보카도 토스트.
Also, do we have Japanese?
되게 맞으시죠?
Again, I don't know anything about the feature. I like that they're color coded. Oh, okay. Oh, no. Thank you. Yeah. Wait. I wasn't ready for almost stop motion, and then her acting is at 1,000%. And you know what? Go for it. I wasn't ready for the, like... for that. But also, there is something unnerving about this. Oh my goodness, okay. Sure. There is something like, again, sinister underpinnings to all of these other worlds. Y'all are surprisingly chill about what you've just witnessed. Ah, rabbit hole. What'd I say? I mean, she said it. She put Wonderland in the lyrics. Ooh, I like the transition. So interesting to have, again, like almost this like doll imagery. We have like a doll with stop motion. I think that's really cool too. There's a very specific aesthetic to a stop motion animation as opposed to hand-drawn animation or like 3D animation. So I like having that in there, and also the like doll kind of way that she's styled with the heart on her eye, but it's almost like the like loops on it are almost like stitching, right? Like it's been patched. And then having the shoes, right, with these like really angled toes on them. Like again, there's this feeling of like otherworldly or like this kind of like magical otherworld feeling to it, which is also really fun. That's fun. Like the set that it's clearly like created. Gotta have a strawberry involved, right? And then the blueberry, like the lyrics. Ooh, are we, is that why we were color coded? Is that why? Because I'm like, are we bringing them to this other world? But I really like that it has this like paper mache feel to it, right? Like it's not trying to be anything other than like clearly this like fantasy made up world, right? Of this like practical set, and you can tell that it's cut out of like paper and like paper mache and all those things, right? Like it's not trying to be even remotely looking like reality. But I was thinking that like talking about other worlds like Neverland and Wonderland and even like the Land of Oz, those are all like children's stories, right? So it's like childish wonder mixing with some of the like sinister side of just like reality and some of the things that as you grow up or you come of age, the way that childish wonder, that like bubble of being a kid starts to deteriorate around you, right? As you start to realize what the world is and you like disillusion some of that. That's where some of that like those like horror elements come into the storytelling, the symbolism of that. So I also think that's really interesting for her specifically telling the story and doing something on her own, right? Is like having some of that childish feeling of making a world out of cutout paper and stuff. And then even like the primary colors, leaning into some of that like childish imagery, but again with some of those horror, scarier, more off-putting things mixed in. Even like the black and white for her. Power friendship. I like that we have little stanzas. I was gonna make a Power Rangers reference, but then I didn't. Okay, so we got a band. Cool. It's also really interesting that she has like the diamonds. Makes me think of like chessboard. We got the squares with his outfit too. Ooh, I like the animation of the notes over top of it. But again, like I was saying, we have the almost like checkers, like checkerboard on like her nails. And then we also have one of the shirts that one of the members is wearing as well. And again, like black and white, talking about breaking out of some of that, right? Like when you're a kid, there's clearly good guys, there's clearly bad guys. And then as you get older, it becomes like more nuanced, unfortunately. Maybe I'm just speaking as someone who's like, man, there were times when ignorance was bliss, wasn't it? I think it's interesting to have the black and white with obviously like the color for like their hair colors, but then Chaeyoung is like still just all in the black and white monochrome, right? I think that's a really interesting aesthetic of she's still in that place of this or that, and as opposed to some of the nuances. Even having like primary colors is taking away some of the nuance of like color theory and everything, and is like a artsy person, right? Someone who likes visual arts the way that Chaeyoung does. I think that's also really interesting. I was gonna say, we're gonna have a magical girl transformation. I didn't mean to make all the references. I love like ribbons too, it's like prizes. But now we have like color. But again, is that like surrendering to the fantasy? Like I was saying, like there's this feeling of almost like surrendering or letting yourself be pulled into the fantasy or the dream or whatever. So I wonder if that's some of it, to have the black and white where she's still maybe like on the fence of what is happening, like the confusion of it. And then this at the end when she has like the transformation into the new outfit with all the colors, it's about blending into the world, right? Maybe? I don't know. There's gonna be another music video, so maybe I'll get some more information as we get some like more visuals and stuff. But really distinct style and like choice for this, which I always really appreciate. Super interested what we're gonna get like this whole release. Like I was saying, Chaeyoung has such an artsy person, but I also feel like she has such a distinct style in of herself. Like even just like her art style, the way that she fits in aesthetically when she's dressing for herself, I feel like it's very distinct from the other members of Twice, and in like distinct in terms of things that I see most of the time in just like the K-pop space. And this is definitely like deviating from what you would expect from like a K-pop release. And I think that working with a band really punctuates that, right? I think that it's going to be fascinating to see what she does with a whole album of Space to get across what she's talking about. Obviously, this is me just getting started in it as like the first song, but I think as like an introduction, it very much sets the tone. I think the visuals are really strong, and I think this idea of Wonderland, like Alice in Wonderland, falling down the rabbit hole into this other world and then going to this castle in the sky, right? All of that is like very distinct imagery of we're going into a different world, right? We're going into this kind of like dream fantasy world, and we're going to be playing around, right? And seeing what happens. So that very much makes me interested in what the rest of the album is going to dig into in terms of like topics. I feel like this song was very much about setting the scene of it, right? This is a bit of an intro in a lot of ways. Set what the mood is going to be, what the atmosphere is, and like some of the basic concepts as we go forward. So it makes me really intrigued of all of the stuff that we're going to get as we go forward. But I hope you enjoyed watching that along with me. You can click this playlist to go into my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so next time I post a Chaeyoung or Twice reaction, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.